Alright guys, in one of my last videos, in the video where I left the 5 things in sulfuric acid, one of the things that I left in one of those jars was Orbeez. And I put the Orbeez in water, let them absorb the water, and then I put them in the jar with the sulfuric acid. And if you watch that video, you know that the Orbeez, they shrunk back down to their original size, and then they never swelled back up or anything. They didn't absorb any acid, is the point. That got me thinking, if they won't absorb acid, which that acid was pretty diluted with water, and they still didn't absorb any of it, that made me think, what liquids will Orbeez absorb? Obviously, I have 6 liquids that I just happen to have handy around the garage, and then I have 6 mason jars that I've already put 1 cap full, just this cap. I put one of these caps full of Orbeez into each one of these jars, and then we're going to fill each jar up with one of these liquids. We're going to let them sit for about an hour, hour and a half, and then we'll see which liquids Orbeez absorb. So the first jar is going to be filled with something that we are very familiar with on this channel, Drano. And fill that up. That should be good. Next up, I don't know if you can, the bottle's kind of dirty, some 5W30 motor oil. I'm just going to take a guess. I don't think that the Orbeez are going to be able to absorb something that's such a thick liquid like oil. Alright, that should be enough. Next up, something else that we've started to get more familiar with, bleach. And next up, something we haven't used on this channel yet, WD-40. I really have no idea how this is going to work. Oh, that thing is full. Let's do it this way. Just had to squeeze it, didn't you? Alright, I guess that's just going to have to work as I get WD-40 all over the table. At least WD-40 is not corrosive or an acid or anything aggressive. Alright, now that I know that my table's not going to squeak anymore, let's move on to Monster Energy. I'm just going to dump this whole can in here because it's not like I drink this stuff. And last but not least, we're going to have a control, which is just going to be water. Alright, so all 6 jars are filled with their various liquids. So far, it doesn't seem like a whole lot is happening. I'm sure the water is going to absorb just fine. The bleach is foaming, and it's not like really hot, but it's definitely warmer than these other ones. The oil looks like nothing's happening. The Monster, I'm sure is probably going to absorb just like the water will. The WD-40 and the Drano, I have no idea. I'm going to put a time-lapse on for about an hour, and then we'll come back and we'll see what happens. Alright guys, so as you saw from the time lapse, really the only ones that are in the water are the only ones that really inflated or absorbed the water. All the other ones just kind of look the same. The Monster ones kind of, they pretty much almost look the same. They look like they've absorbed a little bit, but since we're running out of time, I'm just going to leave all the jars inside of all of their, no, I'm not going to leave the jars in their liquids. I'm going to leave the Orbeez inside of all the jars. I'm gonna leave all the jars in the see you in 24 hours. In case you don't speak gibberish, I'm gonna leave all of these Orbeez inside of these jars and all of their liquids for the next 24 hours, and then we're gonna see what happens. So, it's been 24 hours, and pretty much just like yesterday, you can see that the ones that were filled with water have obviously swelled up almost to the top of the jar. And just like yesterday, just after an hour, the ones that were filled with Monster are pretty much the same. They might have swelled up just a little bit more, But the rest of these, they either haven't done anything, kind of like the oil, doesn't look like it's done anything, or they've been pretty much dissolved, kind of like in the bleach. Now what I want to do is get a pan out and start dumping these out and start checking the condition of the beads and see how each one affected the beads. We're going to start off with the ones that were in water as our control. They should be pretty bouncy from what I remember. And they are. Yes, very, very squishy. Oh, and you can burst them if you squeeze them hard enough. Let's see if I can get another one. Oh, that one just squeezed out of my hand. Yeah, so you can burst them. All right, now let's compare these to the monster ones. So the closest thing to water was the ones with monster. So we'll get some of these out. See what they're like. They were kind of bouncing a little bit whenever I was pouring them out. They seem, let me get a hold of, if I can get a hold of a couple of them. Yeah, they seem just like the exact same thing, just like they didn't absorb as much. See if I can squeeze them. Oh, except for they're very brittle. They break way easier than the other ones. Oh, maybe that was just one. This one doesn't seem. Yeah, you still have to squeeze them pretty hard. See if they're bouncy. Yeah, I don't know if you could see that or not. They're bouncy just like the other ones. The only thing I can assume is that I don't know what these are made of, but from what I can tell, it seems like they only absorb water and that's it. I'm assuming since the monster doesn't have much water in it, maybe, and it has just a lot of, or maybe it has so much sugar in it or whatever, it's not allowing these to absorb as much, and that's why they're so small. Because this is pretty much exactly what I would assume if you took these beads and you just put them in water for like 20 minutes instead of like a couple hours. This is probably exactly what they would be like. So let's move on to some of the more harsh chemicals that we have. Let's just start with engine oil. See how they did in there. They don't look like anything happened to them, to be honest. Oh yeah, nothing. They feel exactly like they did. They're still very hard. They just feel like little plastic beads. It doesn't seem like anything happened to them. They feel just like they would if I just had poured them out of the container brand new. Nothing happened with those, and they're not even weak or anything. That's actually kind of surprising. I figured something would have happened with those. Now let's move on to something more aggressive, the bleach. I don't know if you guys saw it whenever I did a close-up. It looks like these are just completely dissolved, to be honest. Maybe not. Maybe not. They're still... Oh no. I think they're pretty much dissolved. Oh no. I got a couple of them. Man, these are slippery. You can't even hardly get a grip on them. Oh well. Let's see how they bounce. Not very good. If I can just smash one. Wow, they're so slippery you can't. They're so slippery you can't even get a hold of them. But, I mean, they're pretty much dissolved. Because there's probably half of what I originally put in here. And you can see that the bleach is just all kind of different colors from where it's been dissolved. So, they definitely do not absorb bleach, and they do not last very well in bleach. Next up, we have Drano. And I have a very strong feeling this is going to be pretty much just like the bleach. Much thicker. Oh, look at all those colors. Oh, it's hot too. I can't, just like the bleach, I can't seem to get a hold of any of them. Wow, it's so slippery I can't squeeze it or do anything with it. But yeah, these are pretty much just like the bleach. Kind of getting dissolved, Can't really grab a hold of them. They're not still hard like the oil ones were, like they just came out of the package. They've absorbed a little bit and they've softened up, but they just haven't grown. And last but not least, we have the WD-40, which I don't know if you can see it or not. As I moved it, just got really cloudy. Let's dump these out and see how these handle it. Oh, these feel just like the oil ones. Feels like they're still, you can maybe even hear it. Maybe I'll drop it on the table. Can you hear that? They're still very hard. There's no, they didn't absorb anything. They don't feel weak, they don't feel soft or anything. And I believe, I'm almost positive WD-40 is oil-based, and of course the oil is oil-based. So I guess where there's no water in it, these beads just do not absorb anything that does not have water. Alright guys, so we've learned that Orbeez only absorb water pretty much. I really figured they would at least, of course I knew they would absorb the water, but I figured they would at least fully absorb, or at least like half absorb the Monster, since the Monster has a lot of water in it, but I guess where it has so much sugar or whatever else is in there, I guess it won't let it absorb. Everything else, I'm not really too surprised. I didn't think it would really absorb much of these other things, but I guess it's down to water. That's all Orbeez will absorb is water. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.